It's both of us. Yeah. Good evening. If everyone could rise for the invocation, which I'm going to be giving this evening, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time to come together for a city that we all love. Lord, we just pray as we slow down during this holiday season that we may remember what is most important in our lives, which is our family, our friends, and our faith. Lord, I pray that we might just treat each other a little bit kinder this year and in the year to come. I pray, Lord, for all those who have been affected by the horrible tornadoes in the Midwest. We pray that you might lift them up, be with all the first responders who are helping them, and we pray for a speedy recovery, and that you might give them mercy as they deal with their grief. Lord, I pray a special shield of protection around all of our first responders and those soldiers who are abroad, who are watching over our country and helping those in other countries that are looking for freedoms that we sometimes take for granted. Lord, I pray that next year will be a better year and that you will give us strength to deal with whatever comes. We pray that the pandemic may end and that we may move on. But if that is not the case, we ask for the strength to deal with it. Now I ask that you give us the wisdom and discernment as we make decisions for the city of Clearwater and its citizens, Lord. We turn all these things over to you and ask them in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 16, 2021 council meeting. As I said earlier, if you are going to want to comment on an item or citizens to be heard, if you could just get a comment card, we would appreciate it. We're going to start out with a couple service awards, and if you would come forward as I call your name. First, Billy Kirkpatrick from Human Resources for 20 years of service. Mr. Jennings.
Sorry, Billy. Great job.
Give him the write-up.
No one's kidding. Okay, Billy, here we go. So sorry. Billy's 20-year career spans several departments and multiple promotions. Her career with the city of Clearwater began on December 8th, 2001 as a part-time library page, and in 2003 she was promoted to a full-time library assistant. She then became an accounting clerk in the finance department in 2007. Billy was then promoted in 2010 to a payroll technician in the Parks and Recreation Department until she was promoted in 2012 to an administrative analyst. In 2013, she returned to the Finance Department as a senior pension payroll analyst, and until she was transferred to a systems analyst, a senior actually, systems analyst in 2015 in the IT department. And finally, she was promoted as the HR manager in 2010, and just this month, she has been promoted to the assistant HR director. Congratulations on that. Billy has made a tremendous impact, not just in the multiple departments she has served, but throughout the city, being an exemplary model of a public servant. Billy has built upon each experience throughout her career and made such relevant contributions and relationships that are far-reaching and will continue to serve her and the organization well. Billy, you have been such a significant part of the Dream HR team, and we couldn't imagine the workplace without you. For your techie, Excel mastery, funky dancing, historic knowledge. Some of these things I really don't want to know about. So, kind, dedicated, and multitude of fun attributes you bring to the table, you continue to be an invaluable asset to the city of Clearwater. With a strong knowledge of human resources, finance, IT, and organizational awareness, you help assist employees across the ranks in a multitude of areas. Your whatever it takes attitude and taking problems and turning them into achievable solutions with a smile is your trademark. Your experience and positive attitude have made a wonderful impact on the HR department. Congratulations on your 20-year service anniversary award, Ms. Billy Kirkpatrick.
Watch the rise. Everybody,
Congratulations. You need to.
Thank you so much.
congratulations. Thank you for all the years.
Congratulations. This is for you as well.
One library page to another, great success. Double congratulations. That's my job.
Thank you. Next, we have the bi-monthly team award for November-December 2021. The water distribution team, represented by Fred Hemrick, Deanne Murray, Ike George, Kieran Johnson, Tori Castleberry Sr., Dan McGinnis, and Michael Veka. Come on up.
The general contractor, while working at grading new elevations on the Imagine Clearwater project, clipped a 6-inch tapping sleeve and water valve on a 16-inch water main, which caused a major leak. The tapping sleeve and valve were buried below the working grade, which would prove to be labor intensive. The water main break caused low water pressure and a boil water alert on Clearwater Beach, Island Estates, and Sand Key. The team noted above continuously all afternoon and into the evening, at times shoulder deep in water, to repair that line and get water back on as soon as possible. Had the team not worked as diligently, the affected customers could have been without water for a much longer period of time. We are very thankful the dedication that these employees provided to our city and our citizens. Thank you so much for your quick response and service to everyone involved.
Great to see you. Thank you for your quick response on that, because it did affect me.
The gentleman behind me are all.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you all. We
Yeah.
take for granted what we're accustomed to having, so
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you very
Thank you.
much. Congratulations.
Great job.
Glad to go and
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Hope we won't need it again.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was really a quick response. We anticipated that it was going to take much longer to repair that line, and so it was very fortunate that we had such a great team. I was remiss in not introducing the dais, so on my far right is our city manager, John Jennings. Mr. Hamilton is gone this week. Councilmember Albritton,
Good evening.
Councilmember Beckman,
Good evening.
Councilmember Bunker,
Good evening.
and our city attorney, Mr. Margolis.
Good evening.
At this time, we have a proclamation for the Clearwater chapter of the National Society, Sons of the American Revolution. And if I could have Harry Fuller come forward. Whereas the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution is a non-profit, nonpartisan, congressionally chartered fraternal lineage organization dedicated to enhancing education, promoting patriotism, addressing civic concerns, and preserving American history, whose members can trace their lineage to a patriot who supported the cause of American independence. And whereas the Clearwater chapter of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution was chartered on January 12, 1952, and will be celebrating its 70th year of service to the community and country. And whereas the Clearwater chapter is dedicated to preserving American history by working with like-minded organizations to locate, protect, and preserve archaeological sites, such as battlefields and grave sites, genealogical materials, and archivable items, as well as other historical concerns. Now therefore, I, Frank V. Hibbard, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim January 12, 2022, to be Clearwater Chapter of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution Day in the City of Clearwater. Good evening. Thank you for being here and all that your organization does. You have anything to say?
Yes, we believe in service to country and community. I see two documents there, which is the first draft of the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. There's so many other documents and so many other things that inspire us to do service in the present community, such as we have an endowed scholarship with St. Petersburg College, of which there's a campus here in Clearwater. We also purchase American flags for all the Habitat for Humanity homes constructed in the city of Clearwater, amongst other things. So thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and council members, for this proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you very much. What's your staff?
Good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Think of what you do with Habitat.
Now I would ask if there are any amendments to the minutes of the December 2nd, 2021 council meeting. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. This time I'll open it up to citizens to be heard. If you'd like to speak to any item that is not on the agenda, you can find agendas back on my right. We ask you to state your name for the record, fill out a comment card, and respectfully ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Dan Perry. I appreciate you all letting me address the council today. I live off of Enterprise Road East in the Northwood neighborhood. I moved to Clearwater about 6 years ago, specifically to be near the Enterprise Dog Park. From the street, the park is just another park with dogs. To the hundreds or thousands of people who use the park on a regular basis, it's much more. It's a place where friends gather, the community comes together, and relationships begin and sometimes end. The park is our natural habitat as much as it is for the dogs. As humans, it's important to spend time in nature, as well as spend time with other people. The park is the place where we go for our mental health. As we close in on the third year dealing with the pandemic, the park has become many residents' only safe place to be around other people. The name should probably be changed to the City of Clearwater's dog-friendly group therapy park at Enterprise to better reflect its importance in our community. The countryside area is filled with apartments and condos. Most of those house elderly and disabled residents who can't just go for a long walk. Because of the increased traffic and reduced daylight, elderly residents don't feel safe driving on Gulf to Bay US 19 or McMullen Booth just to go to another park. It is just astonishing that the mayor and city manager don't find it important to get citizen input when closing the most popular gathering spot in Clearwater for 3 to 4 months that will have a dramatic effect on hundreds, if not thousands, of residents. I know that we may not be as smart as the engineers or the department heads, but the residents who frequent the park have invaluable insight, great ideas, but the city doesn't want their input. Maybe a small dog park could be added, perhaps a bathroom. Maybe add an extra entrance and exit gate to make getting in and out of the park easier. The current entry and exit is not friendly for people in walkers or wheelchairs. For the last 5 years, the gate latch breaks every few months, making the park less safe. Yet the city has consistently ignored requests to find a better solution for a gate. The mayor and city manager have acknowledged in writing that the park could have been renovated in stages, but it was in their best interest to close the whole park for the entirety of the renovations. Even after it was brought to their attention, they just brushed off citizen concerns and said they do not do public outreach for renovation projects that are not going to make significant changes to the overall park. When a park hasn't been renovated in 15 years and you're closing it for 3 to 4 months, Those changes are significant, and a responsible city government should want citizens' input. At the end of the day, this is not just about a park. It's about a city that treats residents as a problem instead of customers. When cities are more inclusive with their citizens, they can accomplish much more together, maybe even great things. I'm asking this council to vote to postpone the renovations and give residents the opportunity they deserve to participate and find a compromise that will allow parts of the park to remain open while most of the renovations are completed. The goal would be to reduce the overall closure from 90 to 100 days to 30. For the future, I ask this council also create
Thank
a
you,
policy.
Mr. Perry.
I'll be done. Solicit public input in projects that will significantly affect the health of our residents, especially their mental health. So
Mr.
with that,
Perry.
I appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
for your time.
Please come on up.
I wasn't sure I was going to get up to speak, but I thank
could
you
just
for
state your
allowing
name
me
for
my
the record.
time. I'm also a dog park person.
Could you state your name for the record,
Sandra
please?
Stonemarks, thank
Thank
you,
you.
sorry. And I also am a frequent person to the dog park and have been going for quite a few years. And no offense to you, Mr. Hubbard, but the suggestion that we go to Crest Lake Park shows how little you really understand, as the other gentleman said, how important this park is, because we do have a lot of older people that come, they live in condos, they have no space for their dog, yet this is a good place for all of us to come and meet. And it is, not only for the dogs who, because their owners group, they form a dog pack, so to speak, but also the people form packs, and they also start to see each other outside of the park. So this park really, it's phenomenal. There is look around and see where there's another place like this. It is a rare jewel. I don't know, I've tried to research it, but I don't know how that land got in Clearwater, of all places, in that spot, donated to be a dog park. But it is a wonderful place, and it really is much more important than you really realize. And I also was surprised to see that notice on the board that we weren't given any input, because who knows better what that park is about and what should or shouldn't be improved than the people that frequent it every day or very frequently. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Come on up. Other folks for citizens to be heard.
Good evening, my name is Chris Hardman, and I wanted to address the concerns that many in the community have with the prospective sale of the Clearwater YMCA on 1005 South Highland Avenue. I had the opportunity to speak with the city manager briefly this afternoon by phone. I provided the documents from the county, as well as some information that I've received from planning and development on that. And it's a distinct concern for all age groups. And if you note in the documents that I've provided to your city manager, that this property started for the community in 1966. The property was gifted, if you look at the deed, from a couple that owned that property back in 1963. So in that period of time, individuals like Jack Eckerd, that started Jack Eckerd drugstores and so forth, they provided funding to specifically open an indoor swimming pool, an indoor gymnasium, which was phenomenal for individuals. I was 14 years old. I rode my bike over the first Saturday that it was open in 1966 and joined as a youth member. So I've been a member for 55 years. And to take this from the community without the opportunity for community input is not fair. And you have nothing in that part of the city that could be within proximity for people to walk or ride their bikes. Look on Saturday mornings how many bicycles are over there for kids coming from swimming lessons. I rode my bike there on Saturday mornings. And it's close proximity for parents to bring their kids, as well as the many seniors that use the facility. So, you know, it's my position that the city of Clearwater would have hopefully had dialogue with the YMCA to see if, just as they did with the Long Center years ago, to consider acquiring the property and to have the recreation department run the facility as they do the Long Center. It would have made a lot more sense than a private school coming in there instead and taking away that recreational opportunity for the community. 58,000, square feet. It's a huge facility. When it was built, it was the largest single-story facility, YMCA, in the world. And the vision that they had back in the mid-60s was extraordinary. So, you know, I would hope that...
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Right.
Hello, my name is Louis Jorgel. I live in Pier Street in downtown, and I walk up to the YMCA all the time. It's one of the very few places that I can go in the community to meet friendly people, to get the exercise I need, and basically to have a safe place that I can go outside of my house. And to know that it's changing hands, and that it's not going to be in city hands, or we don't have anything to replace it in the area is very troubling to me, because I'm not sure where to go. I've walked around the Crest Lake Parks and Glen Oaks Parks, but they don't have weightlifting or other type guided exercises that I can do there. And you know, if there's any way that we could look more into that and get making those things available to this part of Clearwater, that'd be really good. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for citizens to be heard?
I'm going to be very quick. My name is Alexandra Vangeli. I'm a City of Clearwater resident since '93, and this is about the dog park. I live very close to the Enterprise Dog Park, and my family uses the park daily or sometimes even twice a day. And closing temporarily this park will create crisis for many residents. For senior citizens who come to park daily, especially at 7 a.m. This beautiful park provides not only fun for dogs, but also provides benefit for general health and mental health, especially for seniors, veterans. It breaks my heart to listen to an 85-year-old man yesterday morning who says that with closing this park, he has like nothing to live for. I mean, it breaks my heart. We are supporting renovation and understand that we need to protect the workers and safety first, but is there any way we can like leave one side open or one of the part of the park open, like other projects, you know, like the other major project, they stay operational, but they limited access. So I just want to ask to maybe keep it partially open for the benefit of seniors and other citizens who are really very upset, and going to Crest Lake on nighttime at 6:00 p.m. that will create more accidents, more work for the police, and more not necessary problems, I think, for the city. So we truly support the park renovation, but we just ask you to consider the citizens with this decision and maybe leave it partially open. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for citizens to be heard?
They don't really want to hear from me. I'm Mr. Haluba. I aggravate Frank Hibbard. So much so point that Mr. Hibbard has to give us a definition of semi-nude. Last meeting, he stated that this officer of interest posted these semi-nude photographs and that they were taken off duty. Mr. Hibbard doesn't know that, and even if it's true, it's inappropriate and unbecoming of a police officer. Someone at Clearwater Police made him take these unseemly postings down. This officer was a police officer with another agency prior to being hired in Clearwater. All that was verified that I can find out was his social security number and the fact that he worked for another agency. No one, Slaughter, nobody ever pulled his employment file, but I did. Mr. Semi-nudity, he's got 5 pages of internal affairs investigations and complaints at his previous employer. And I'm going to read some of these. I think it's important that everyone knows. Numerous improper contact complaints, rudeness, failure to call in traffic stop, excessive use of force, missed deposition, failure to appear at a quasi-judicial hearing, improper investigation, improper arrest, inefficiency in job performance, failure to collect evidence, willful neglect of statutory authority, failure to complete reports, productivity or workmanship not up to requirements, bias-based profiling, immoral, unlawful, or improper conduct. And guess what? He's presently under internal affairs investigation by Clearwater Police. Who could have seen that? Anthony Holloway pulled his file. He doesn't work for Anthony Holloway. And it has come out in my little bit of digging that his resignation was not his idea. It was requested of his former employer. It's my opinion that this officer semi-nude is just a pretentious egomaniac who sometimes, acts out as a social media clown. Unfortunately, being a clown is a good match for Clearwater Police Department, led by our ringmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Haluba.
His name is Byron S. Hatcher, badge number 1073.
Thank you, Mr. Haluba.
10723. He
Your
needs
time
to be
is up, sir.
terminated. Let's hope Mr. Hatcher's time is up. Anything else, Mr. Hibbard?
No, Mr. Haluba.
Oh, okay.
Anything else for citizens to
Usually
be
you
heard?
have some crack at the end.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Haluba.
I've got my Christmas shirt on.
I saw it's very festive.
Hi, my name's Robert McKee. I've been in Clearwater since 1962. And I would like to second the motion that the three other people who came up here about reconsidering closing the park for 4 straight months in the best weather of the year. And maybe they could do it partially, and it would help everybody out who has a dog and who comes to the dog park every day. I've been going there for 7-8 years now, and it's the best place around. It's the greatest park around. If they could just help us out a little bit, would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for citizens to be heard? Come on up. If I don't see you, I'm going to close it in a minute, so.
My name is Emil Khalil, and I am here for the same reason for Enterprise Dog Park. And I'm here because I see this park like a piece of nature and for all animals and also for my friends that speak. And I think I will not add anything more than they add and they say. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
afternoon. My
Good
name is
afternoon.
Angie. I am here to speak about the Enterprise Dog Park as well. I have been going to this park with my dog for almost 2 years now, every weekend. As other people mentioned, dogs and people have had the opportunity to build relationships with each other. The park is already divided into at least 3 individual subdivisions, which will allow workers the opportunity to divide the work and avoid closing the park altogether for 4 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for citizens to be heard? All right, I'm closing it to the audience. I know that the clerk has some notes.
An email was received by Laura Louise. Dear City Council, I understand that the city is considering closing Enterprise Dog Park for 4 months. Please do not close the park for such a long period of time. My dog Sasha and I love the park and visit it often to visit genuine dogs and dog parents in the community. It is so unique, the largest dog park I have visited in Florida by far. Besides the sheer size, Sasha and I also appreciate the shade provided by the trees as well as the intricate maze and delicious to explore. Sasha loves running through the brush, chasing squirrels. Enterprise Dog Park is her happy place. Shutting down such a high-quality park would seriously impair the quality of Sasha's life for a while. There are no other dog parks quite like this one in the neighborhood. Please consider other options besides closure. An email was received by Melvin Haddaz. My dog and I love Enterprise Dog Park and don't know what we would do without it for 4 months. Please reconsider. Thank you. Kira Rivera. Hello, I want to formally express my concern over the Enterprise Dog Park closure for over 4 months. This is way too long. Patrick Beeson. Due to my concern, I noticed a worrying sign at the Enterprise Dog Park announcing a 4-month closure of the park beginning in January. This seems very suspicious to me, and I'm assuming this is some kind of ploy to close it quietly and sell the land. Please let me know this is not the case. I just don't understand what kind of dog park maintenance or renovation could take that long. I think this would be a very poor decision as it is the busiest park in the area and hundreds, if not thousands of dogs and dog families enjoy the park on a regular basis. I just want to make my voice heard and hope you reconsider. Pauline Hirschberger. Dear City Council members, I am writing to express my opposition to the lengthy closure of Enterprise Dog Park for maintenance. I believe 4 months is too long to deny access to this extremely popular and well-attended park, especially during the best months of the year. I am a full-time resident of Safety Harbor and have been going to Enterprise Dog Park for nearly daily basis since it opened. Over the years, I have talked to people who actually relocated Clearwater just to live near this dog park. It is a truly unique asset to Clearwater. Small box dog parks with little or no shade are not acceptable. We need off-leash walking trails and natural settings. I cannot imagine what maintenance would be undertaken that would require 4 months of work. Such a long closure of this park would be a severe hardship to those of us who frequent the park. I hope you will, at a minimum, consider doing the maintenance in shorter, in parentheses, 1 month increments, spaced out over the year. Please do not close Enterprise Dog Park for 4 months. And last, an e-comment was received by Jane Standen Bolton. I was absolutely horrified to hear at the work session on Monday words from Mr. Jennings that he thinks he can form a partnership with Scientology and Mr. Miscavige. So many of us breathed a sigh of relief when he was chosen as city manager, as we thought he actually got it. That he had done his research and understood that this was a dangerous evil force in downtown, a force only interested in its own wants and needs, a force that had no interest in creating a vibrant city or in fact creating a city that combined anyone from other than high-level Scientologists. There are thousands of people more ex-Scientologists than there are current ones in fact, who know how this evil organization works, yet time and time again it seems like those on the outside who with no real understanding think they know better. Scientology has never and will never want a partnership with the city until city leadership understands things will only get worse. This man and his criminal organization are never to be trusted. There will never be a partnership, only Scientology doing all it can to ruin our city.
Anything else? Okay. Just a couple things on the Enterprise Dog Park. First of all, I was mayor when we opened it in 2006, and we are dog owners and lovers. We have gotten the time frame for the park down to 90 days, and it may be shorter. We're always interested, and I have not heard from anybody about improvements that they would like made. But this dog park has, excuse me, It has not been worked on for 15 years. That is property that we did a swap at the time. It is zoned OSR, which is open space recreation. And what that means is that if the city were to sell it, it would have to go to referendum and the citizens would have to approve it. So anyone who thinks that we're going to sell it, that's not true. Last year, we did improvements at the Crest Lake Dog Park, which also unfortunately closed that. And there was an influx of people that went to other dog parks in the general vicinity. But we do have to do improvements. And one of the reasons that it was going to be closed all at once are some safety issues for patrons. And secondly, it does save money to do the entire park at the same time. So we want Countryside and the whole vicinity that uses it to enjoy that park, but we also have to be careful about the money that's spent and be wise about that. If the weather is good, which was stated this is one of the nicest times of the year, it does make construction a lot faster. Mr. Janes, do you have anything to add, or Mr. Halios? Okay.
Jim, do you?
Councilmember Beckman.
I have a couple things. So, we had talked about this park a couple of meetings ago, and I had asked a question if the renovations, and there are like two different parts, paving and then pathways, and were they going to run consecutively or concurrently to try to limit the amount of time that the park was closed. And so it was that they were going to run concurrently to save money and to make it as quick as possible, the refurbishing. And I think that's why the city didn't reach out to residents, is because there weren't going to be big renovations. It was just maintenance and dealing with flooding that happened to some homes around that park. So it didn't dawn on me that residents should be consulted, because I don't think there was an opportunity to change a whole bunch. I didn't get the impression that there was any opportunity to change like the layout or features of the park. With that said, I've been a huge proponent of utilizing our advisory boards a lot better. And I would think that maybe, in hindsight, we could have utilized our Parks and Rec Advisory Board and asked those members to go out and get a pulse on the people who use Enterprise Dog Park and just let them know it looks like there's some renovations coming. It looks like it might be closed 2 or 3 months. What do you guys think? And, all that. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think we need to put if we're putting signs up, they need to be put up as soon as possible. And I would suggest some kind of a QR code on the sign so that people can use their phone and get to a site or an information page that answers all sorts of frequently asked questions. How long is this going to take? Why is it taking this long? What's going to be done? All that kind of thing. And then finally, as people have made their points here, and I don't have a dog right now. I'm a dog lover, but I don't have one right now, and have not been out to Enterprise Park to see all the amount of people that use it. But I heard, I understand that it is a primo dog park and is used extensively. And so what I was thinking as you all were coming up and talking about these relationships and using it every day and all that, is that I get that we can save money and make it quicker by closing it all down for 3 months. But let me tell you, we had a conversation about that downtown marina where wealthy people have their boats, and imagine Clearwater is being constructed. And people wanted access to those boats, and they wanted access to unload their cars and get their gear down to their boats. And so we made changes in those plans to accommodate that. In fact, we had an employee that's up there that will meet people at the top of an unloading area and shuttle them down to their boats. So there is some kind of precedent of us making some accommodations for people when we're undergoing large renovations. So one thing I think maybe we can consider, and just to be real transparent, is if we were going to consider changing the schedule of renovation, I think we should all know at what cost? And so if people want that done in phases, and I say to you who use Enterprise Park, okay, if you want it stretched out and done in phases, it's gonna cost the city another $300,000. Are you okay with that? You know, or something like that? I don't know. And I don't know if it's too late, if we've already got all the orders queued up and all the thousands of tons of shells are there. Maybe it's too late to make any modifications. But I think there are some learnings from this, you know, situation. So that's what I have to say.
Councilmember Albritton.
Yeah, you know, hearing all the concern about this, I know that dog parks are very special to the citizens of Clearwater, because we went through this with Crest Lake Park, and everybody was very picky about how we finished that park, and I think it's a world-class dog park now. So my question would be to Mr. Hallius, is there something we can do to at least give some area to people while we're starting other areas, and see if we can accommodate something that would, it's not going to be perfect. Now, I was a contractor for 39 years, and I know when I got into remodeling people's houses, they didn't like it. But, you know, the end result, they want two things. They want a great job when it's done, they want it done as quick as they can, and they want me not see me anymore. So we want a great job because it's part of Clearwater, and we want to get it done as quick as we can. And maybe there's some accommodations we can make for you guys to still have your dogs there while we do some of this work. So curious to see what Mr. Hallius says.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Jim Hallius, Director of Parks and Recreation. Earlier today, I sent Council an aerial map of Enterprise Dog Park, and to kind of lay out what we're looking at. So one of the primary issues that we have is there's only one ingress and egress into that park. The other two are maintenance, and one is slightly off of Enterprise, if you see, and then one is back in a residential area. So not only are we redoing things in that parking lot is going to be a laydown area. So if we were to bisect the park into two halves, like has been suggested tonight, and do the south half portion and then do the north half portion, the issue is going to be parking. So let's take, for instance, we finish that north half, or we're working on the north half and we want to open the south half of that park. There's no way to access it unless people were to access through someone's neighborhood where there's no parking. Additional issue that we have there due to the popularity of that park is parking is always an issue. That parking lot is full, people park in the right of way, people park on private property. So if we are to use some of that parking area as a laydown area, we are effectively taking spaces out of inventory, which will then force more parking into the rest of the road. You know, we always look at trying to mitigate issues, and we know this is going to cause an inconvenience. And when we look at something, we don't automatically say we're going to close it. You know, that's it. That's what we're going to do. We look at is there a possibility to break it up, and just by the size of this footprint and the ingress and egress points, it just didn't work. And you know, there's safety issues that we have. We're regrading, using heavy equipment to regrade those different paths. We have shell going in there. There's going to be trucks going in and out, and it just, with how that property is set up, there's just no easy way to separate those two parks to allow for ingress and egress points that we felt would be safe for both the users and the dogs as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Hallius? Councilmember Beckman.
So one of the people brought up the fact that there is only one way in and out. Is there any way, was there ever any consideration about having another entrance constructed?
There's just, I mean, at that point over there, you know, one of the speakers brought up a good point about not being handicap accessible. We can certainly look at that. But as far as a main entrance, that where that parking lot is, and due to the flow of traffic, that is the only place we can put it. That the entrance currently exists. That's the only place for it right there.
The way we got some of the land back in the day, otherwise this park wouldn't exist, was dealing with the Lake Chautauqua neighborhood that was being built and developed. And we gave them certain access, and by doing so, we got the property for the dog park. That's how it occurred back in 2005. And that's why there's only one entrance. There really is no other access point where we could put parking that isn't in a neighborhood. but it was a great location and one of the few that we could pick up land for and support the countryside area, because the Crest Lake Dog Park had been opened 3 years earlier and was such a success. Thank you, Mr. Halios. I understand for a consent agenda that item 7.1 has been asked to be removed. Are there any other items from the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.13, to be removed by either the council or by a citizen? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve 7.2 through 7.13?
Motion to approve items 7.2 through 7.13.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 7.1.
Adopt the 2022 Clearwater Cultural Arts Strategic Plan, providing recommendations for arts and cultural actions and programs for fiscal year 2022-23 through fiscal year 2028-29.
Mr. Hubbard.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, managers, city staff, and citizens. Christopher Hubbard, Cultural Affairs Coordinator for the City of Clearwater. I can present the item again if the council wishes. There is nothing significant that has changed within the article itself.
Anyone from the public to speak to item 7.1? Come on up, ma'am. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Teresa Brown-Boson. Thanks for letting me speak. Nice to see everybody tonight. I would like to address the strategic plan for the cultural arts, 2022, 23, 28, and 29. This plan looks back at a 5-year plan established in 2002. Why? Where is the vibrant, detailed, and current plan 10 years later? I'm a working artist looking for clarity. I'm someone who wants information at my fingertips about art programs and financial opportunities for artists in Clearwater. This plan uses the term economic engine. For whom is this true? I assume this refers to the greater revenue for the city. This is a myth. There is a myth that artists are willing to volunteer their talents for nothing. This is untrue. We are a varied group of people who offer enrichment to our communities and enhance our neighborhoods. We need to be compensated for our skills by those who seek them. We are individuals who seek user-friendly platform of opportunity by the City of Clearwater. Where might one find an opportunity to display their talent? Where can we connect without having to drill down into the multi-layered city website? I'm a visual artist as well as a crafter, or a maker, as we say on the West Coast. My husband is a musician. We have both found opportunity through our own self-promotion and self-marketing. We are fortunate to have those skills and connections, but many talented artists in our community don't. How can we help them connect? How can we make them more visible? Can we create a more user-friendly, accessible way for them to connect their talent to local opportunity through a creative connections board? If we want to be a city known for arts-friendly environment, both public and private, let's work to develop ways in which we can connect creatives with financial opportunities in our communities. I believe we can do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have something else, Ms. Call?
No, the individual left the room.
Okay. Any questions from council? I mean, Mr. Hubbard, we're continuing always to improve this program, correct? And we do spend 1% on projects of over $5 million.
Yes, sir.
On art that we do pay artists, correct?
Correct.
And we are going to try to encourage private developers to do the same down the road.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Albritton.
You know, years ago, we had a pretty good art committee, I guess, and they were looking in your strategy 6 was to find space within Clearwater that an investment in arts can be concentrated for maximum effort. And they were talking about some buildings that weren't used and maybe making that into an art community where they could do shows and things like that. And I had a building downtown and I was going to make that available to artists for free. But we just never could get everybody together to get that done. I know they had meetings, and I mean, I attended most of them, And I'd like to see that happen if we could do that. I think to your, what you're saying, it's nice to have an area. A lot of big cities have a depressed area that they can turn it to artists to help them, not charging them rent, but go in there and do your thing and then bring that in. The whole community benefits from it. So I would like to see, as what we have, maybe pick that up. I think it was dropped years ago, and see if we can find an area that would work and for our artists in our community.
Mr. Jennings?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember, we are looking at the former North Ward School to renovate that into an arts and culture type of facility. Actually, Mr. Delk has been working on that. More to come in the future before the council.
Great.
Councilmember Beckman and then Bunker.
And I think too that Teresa Brahm also is articulating a need for maybe a web page or something that's easier to navigate on the website for artists, and so maybe that can be something we can look into as well.
Yes, that will.
Councilmember Bunker.
Well, that was going to be my point. But I will just toss in that growing up in the 60s and 70s, back in my hometown of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, I was always impressed seeing a mural like in a building inside the college campus that was actually paid for by the WPA during the Depression. So I know the importance of paying artists to enrich all of our lives. So if we have some way to, on the web, connect artists with projects, I think that would be great.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve agenda item 7.1.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 8.1.
Accept the 2021 Local Housing Incentive Strategy report developed by the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Chuck Lane, Economic Development and Housing Department. As you know, we're required by state statute to assemble an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee annually. It used to be every 3 years, now it's annual. Committee's role is to evaluate our land use regulations, ordinances, policies, procedures, and to identify areas that we can reduce costs of housing to facilitate affordable housing. The committee is required to, at minimum, evaluate 11 criteria. I rolled through those on Monday. I'm going to be a little bit more brief tonight. I'm just going to talk about the highlights of the major points of discussion raised by the committee. There are always a few hot button topics whenever the committee meets. One of them is permit review times. We have a process in place where a qualifying affordable housing project gets top priority for permit review. It goes to the top of the list. The committee asks staff to set target limits for review time specifically for single-family homes. We've done that. The committee also encourages us to ask developers who use building designs frequently in multiple locations of the city to submit those designs to be pre-screened by the building official. When they're submitted for an actual permit, it'll be a much more efficient process. Fees associated with the development, such as impact fees and permit fees, are always discussed at length during the AHAC meetings. I think we're making progress now in this area, more so than before. Staff will be making recommendations regarding the Parks and Recreation Department impact fee structure and the Planning and Development's building permit fee schedule to provide waivers or reductions. We're also going to look to be more aggressive with housing funds to take this burden off the affordable housing developers. So another area of focus with the committee is expanding the allowance of accessory dwelling units. We talked about this on Monday. As staff works through the comprehensive plan update, we'll see if there's a way to make that this makes sense. It's a loaded issue. It's going to take a hefty evaluation, a lot of public input, and council approval ultimately to make it happen. So the committee's recommendations are written into our local housing incentive strategy report. The annual updated report is a result of the committee's work. That is the deliverable. Now that it's an annual event each passing year, I think there'll be fewer changes to the language in the report. Nonetheless, it's very helpful to staff to have these meetings with the diverse personalities and professionalism on that committee. State statute requires that the AHAC approve the updated report. This occurred on Tuesday by unanimous approval by the 11 members. We had full attendance at the meeting, and following approval tonight, the committee will automatically sunset. I will take questions, please.
Any questions for Mr. Lane? Councilmember Beckman.
I just want to make a statement. First of all, thank you, Chuck, and thank you to the members of that committee who really worked hard and had some robust discussions about those 11 categories and how we can do better. And I was in that meeting, or on the dais on Tuesday as part of that AHAC group. And one thing that I stressed at the end, so what I communicated to those members, because it was the last time I got to speak to them independently, is I think Clearwater needs to be seen as competitive, aggressive, and creative related to housing. We need to be seen as leaders in the county. I want to advocate for more general funds to serve people in need. Our partners who are struggling to adequately serve people who live in our communities. I'm not advocating that we're out there in the business to serve them, and that we don't reinvent the wheel, but that we allocate more of our general funds and be competitive with our neighbors, namely St. Pete, who puts a whole lot more into those partners throughout the county than we do. I want to put pressure on our surrounding communities to join in helping. We've signed on to the Pinellas County Housing Compact, and that's not on a shelf. That's something that we need to take out and be cognizant of and ask ourselves, how are we working towards those goals? And we want to keep our goals and numbers front-facing. So how many, days did we have for permitting? Are we keeping our word with having it expedited and meeting the goals that we state? And then finally, I think we need to be creative in really trying to engage our business and faith-based community more to join us in looking for solutions, in sponsoring families and sponsoring homes, in just getting engaged a lot more with money to move the needle. And then finally, the last thing is, we didn't have barely any conversation about permanent supportive housing, which we have a dire need for. And it's incredibly challenging because it means we have to have continuous case management and support for those people that are most in need. And there are people waiting on years-long waiting lists for that. So that's something that, we need to look at. And I don't mean we, just us. We do, but as a county, we need to look at how are we going to, tackle that problem. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Any other comments or questions? Anyone from the public to speak to this item? Please come forward.
I wanted to know.
Please state your name for the record again, and you need to come up to the
My
mic.
name's Teresa Brown-Boson, and I wanted to know, as you're thinking about affordable housing in this community, is it is it environmentally built to be economically stable for these people and for the community? And also, is it handicapped access for people? That a lot of these people that may be moving in, we just don't know who they are, if they're elderly, if they're handicapped. They're the population. So it seems to me it's important to make sure that the housing that we're building for them meets their needs.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Lane, apartments that are being built are ADA accessible. They have to
What
meet
we
ADA.
typically know the end user when that's being built, and if that's the case and there's a need, it does occur. We do that, yes, we'll fund that.
Okay. Anyone else? Do I have a motion?
One last thing, I'm just going to say one last thing because Teresa brought it up, is that we had a most phenomenal discussion. So Teresa brought up, are they built to be environmentally conscious? And we had a great discussion, or there was a great discussion at the Neighborhood Affordable Housing Advisory Board about that topic after our sustainability coordinator presented green print to them. And so that is front and center. So I just wanted to respond to Teresa about that it was a great conversation, wasn't it, Chuck?
It was, thank you.
It really was fantastic, yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Sure.
8.1.
Motion to approve agenda item 8.1.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 8.2.
Approve the City of Clearwater's fiscal year 2021 or 2020-21 consolidated annual performance and evaluation report. Mr. Lane.
Mr. Jennings, the acronym, of course, is the CAPER, and as I did on Monday, I'll take you quickly through a PowerPoint presentation. Why is this not working? Okay. The caper is a report of our activity with the use of federal funds, which are our Community Development Block Grant Program and Home Investment Partnership Program funds. The narrative sections of the report, we discuss our use of state and local funds as well, because it helps to provide a more accurate picture of our body of work in the housing division. This slide shows you the money we spent on the federal side, our federal expenditure, total about $2.1 million. Our spending with housing related sources such as home and CDBG revolving loan funds were down because of the construction climate that's evolved during the pandemic. This slide shows you the money we spent on the state and local side. We spent $450,000 in State Housing Initiative Partnership Program funds. We still have a small balance of Pinellas County Housing Trust Fund money. And as you know, we contribute $250,000 annually to 6 homeless service providers from the city's general fund. We always need to track those we assist. It's a requirement of all the programs. We fund 2 organizations for micro enterprise technical assistance. These 2 groups assisted 59 small business owners and entrepreneurs. Of the 4 single-family homes we completed in FY 2021, 1 was funded with home funds, and we assisted 70 households with home buyer education. And the lion's share, of course, of the people we assist is always through our public services program. This is a number of people we assisted with state and local funds. We funded the rehabilitation of 9 units on the rental side. We provided down payment assistance loans for home buyer education, for a home buyer purchasing an existing home. And we funded the construction of 3 homes using SHIP funds, and also provided down payment assistance to those folks as well. These are the public service partners we worked with throughout the program year. You're familiar with these organizations. You can see there's quite a bit of diversity in the types of programs that are offered through our CDBG program. These 3 partners provided home buyer education classes, and also all 3 also partner with us in processing down payment assistance loans. The micro enterprise partners I mentioned earlier are Tampa Bay Black Business Investment Corporation, who works mostly in the North Greenwood area, and Hispanic Initiative Fund of Florida, also known as Prospera, who work primarily in the downtown gateway with Hispanic folks. We completed a facility rehab in the report year with the ARC of Tampa Bay, and we also worked on facility rehab projects with the Salvation Army, Directions for Living, Hope Villages of America, and HEP. These are the partners we work with on housing projects. On the home ownership side, we work with Habitat for Humanity, Clearwater Neighborhood Housing Services, and Emerge Community Development Corporation. On the rental side, we worked with Community Services Foundation and Lexington Club of Renaissance Square, which is an affordable housing senior living facility on Missouri Ave. So this home is built by Habitat for Humanity at 691 Blanchby Little John Trail. Habitat's had a really big impact in the residential area just north of downtown where this is located. This continues to be a focus area for them, so more to come, I'm sure. We're still working on projects that began in the report year and have carried over to this fiscal year, both on the homeownership side as well as the rental side. We're still finding difficulty in getting projects to the finish line with high construction costs and supply chain deliveries, but working hard at it. We spent a great deal of staff time on COVID response during the program year. Most notably was the 3+ months we spent on the rent, mortgage, and utility emergency assistance program. We're continuing to coordinate with public service providers to seek opportunities to assist with COVID response activities. And today is the last day of our advertised 15-day public comment period. Of course, we will accept public comment tonight when the mayor opens up that opportunity. On Tuesday, December 14th, the Neighborhood and Affordable Housing Advisory Board passed a motion unanimously recommending City Council approval of this item. I'll take questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Any questions this time? Anyone from the public to speak to item 8.2? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve item 8.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Lane. 9.1.
Ordinance 9516-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, vacating public right-of-way described as that certain portion of North Osceola Avenue lying west of the west boundary of Block 2, Jones subdivision of Nicholson's addition to Clearwater Harbor, as recorded in Plat Book 1, page 13 of the Public Records of Hillsborough County, Florida, of which Pinellas County was formerly a part, and lying east of the east boundary of Block 1 of said Jones subdivision of Nicholson's addition to Clearwater Harbor, and lying east of the east boundary of a portion of Block B, Clovis C. Lutz subdivision, as recorded in Plat Book 35, page 76 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, providing an effective date.
Anyone from the public to speak to this item? Do I have a motion on the
Move to
ordinance?
approve agenda item 9.1.
The ordinance.
I'm sorry, move to adopt ordinance 9516-21 on second reading.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 9.2.
Ordinance number 9517-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, vacating public right-of-way described as that certain portion of State Street abutting Lot 11 and Lot 18 of E.A. Marshall subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 44 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, providing an effective date.
Anyone from the public to speak to item 9.2? Have a motion?
Motion to adopt ordinance 9517-21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 10.1.
Thank you, Mayor. On the next two items, city staff will be is recommending postponement of these two items. But I'll read 10.1. Approve a contract purchase order to Synergistic LLC of Dallas, Texas for the creation and implementation of the Municipal Energy Savings Program to include a third-party software in the amount of $16,900 pursuant to RFP 15-20 Energy Savings Program and authorize the appropriate officials to execute the same.
Councilmember Beckman.
Why are we postponing?
We need to do some more research on this.
Do we have a firm date of when it'll be presented?
I'm proposing the first meeting in February.
February?
Well, we only have one meeting in January.
Why can't we have it then? I mean, I hate to sound like that, but every day we're not doing, if we don't approve this, every day that we are not taking action, we're losing money.
If I may, so we are in the process of hiring an innovation and energy manager, which will help with this process, but also we would like to go back to the company and negotiate some of the parameters of the agreement.
So are you thinking that we're not going to sign on or make a decision until we have an energy and innovation manager hired?
No, I'm not saying that specifically, but we have fast-tracked that process. We're interviewing people already for that position.
I'm just concerned that it's going to be 3 or 4 months before we have an energy innovation manager in place, and then we have to look at this material again, and I just fear that 6 months down the line, we've lost $500,000 in savings. I mean, I think it'd be great if we could have a firm January date rather than February. Is that possible?
Well, we certainly can work toward the January 18th council meeting.
Councilmember Bunker.
I just wanted to take a moment to walk back some of the comments I made at the Monday work session when I was reading from what I thought was a local newspaper story from Tennessee, but it turned out to be a right-wing Breitbart type of site. So the things that were said in the meeting that came from that article, not necessarily true. I do, however, share the mayor's concerns that 50% is a pretty steep cut. And I do think that we should do a little more research. I understand your concerns, but I'm not saying we should abandon this. I think we ought to do a little more research before we leave.
Well, I'd also like to hear a little bit more about, I have talked to Ms. Boyle, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about the second place finisher, and they were significantly less. I think they certainly don't have the reputation, but I'd also like to talk about, I'd look forward to having the discussion at a future meeting. I think there's just more details to flesh out. Councilmember Albritton?
Well, I was gonna move to table this because I kind of had the same feeling. When you're spending this kind of money, I like to have one-on-one. I need to know a little bit more about this. I just felt uncomfortable that I didn't know everything about it. And, when you're talking about spending, and I know it's a savings, but still, the end result is a big, a nut for the city. So I would like to, on something like this, and I was gonna suggest this for, and you and I had talked about it, John, about having departments that bring us stuff that's over like $2 million to, definitely have one-on-ones with us instead of giving us a rundown for 15 minutes and then, having us vote on a $2 million expenditure. I need to know a little bit. I think we all do need to know a little bit more about it. So I'd like to see one-on-one on this. If you can, what you need to do with negotiating, and I think we can talk about it again. If we can do it in January, that'd be fine.
Councilmember Beckman.
Okay, so one-on-ones are okay. I just finished my second year of ethics training yesterday for 4 hours. And, part of what was hammered home was materials that are presented for decision-making need to be out in the sunshine. And so I think the public needs to be privy to that information as well. So if we want to have a special meeting with a presentation about it, that's fine. I would advocate for, and I do feel a little bit like we should have been given a little overview of the 3 different firms that were investigated, because if one comes in significantly less, I'd like to know if the deliverables were exactly the same. And so, that's something to look at. But I would also ask if on that January meeting, we could ask Dr. Grego or Mr. Herbeck with the Pinellas County Schools, who have saved, $37 million over 5 years, to come in and tell us their experience so we can ask them directly. And then the other thing is, we're not spending money. We're spending $17,000, and that's it. And I would say, and I don't want to get into a thing, but when we pony up $90 million for Imagine Clearwater, and our experts had advised us on a smaller venue, and we kind of disregarded that and said, I believe that it's going to be great and the money is going to come in, I would say that our return on investment for $90 million for Imagine Clearwater isn't going to even be close to what it is with Synergistics. And, their dollars and cents that's on a spreadsheet document that proves how they're going to get there, and they have a reputation of that. So I feel passionately about moving forward, about doing our due diligence. I trust that the staff has done that. Maybe they haven't communicated as well as they could have, but we have, that organization has a stellar reputation. And again, I don't want to waste time. Every day we don't take action, we're losing money.
Well, I talked to Dr. Grego, and one of the reasons they had such great results is their buildings were so poorly managed, and he admitted that. They are no longer that. I do think that the way that this is written is somewhat deceiving, that we're spending $16,900. We are, if their estimates are correct, could potentially save $8 million, of which they're getting $4 million. So it's not as though it doesn't cost us money because we are giving them our savings.
But
So I
we're
think
not-
there are other ways, excuse me.
Sorry.
I don't interrupt you.
I know, sorry about that.
There are other ways that potentially we can do it and save all of the energy, but also save more money for the city. Are there any citizens that would like to speak to this item?
John Thomas from your Environmental Advisory Board. I support the further evaluation to some extent, but urge the City Council to move forward as quickly as possible. If you average out the numbers, it's $70,000 a month. But really the low-hanging fruit is up front. That's the costs and the savings will diminish as this moves forward through 5 years. That's just the way these things happen. The big dollars will be saved up front. So the sooner we get into it, the sooner those savings will be realized by the city. Thank you.
Did you and the board get a chance to look at this proposal?
Not as a board, but individually, yes.
Do you
I
want to
think you may
send it
have
back to
received
the
some other
EAP?
comments from other board members.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jonathan Wade, resident of North Greenwood. I reside at 1312 North Madison Avenue in Clearwater, Florida, and I come to speak in support of Synergistic moving forward with helping us reduce our carbon footprint and helping the city to save money in energy. We are with Greenpoint 2.0, and we're looking to downsize and to use renewable energy, and I'm very much in support, and I appreciate you guys taking the time, City Manager, and thank you that you're going to get back in January to start to work on this. But we need to move forward to bring our city into the 21st century, that we can have renewable energy and reduce the cost, and that money could be spent in neighborhoods that have been lacking for long periods of time. And we look forward to you guys making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak to this item? Yes, Ms. Call.
My name is Marina Douglas. I'm also a Clearwater resident. I took some time to look at the synergistic proposal, and I do agree that the longer that we prolong the decision making, the more money that we're going to lose in the long run. I am concerned about you not trusting your own resources and your leadership to make a decision on this quickly. We've already seen them work with Pinellas County Schools as well as some other strategic partners that we have here. And so I think if we move now, you're thinking about the savings, we have to split it, but they're bringing us the resources that we need to move forward with the green print in our target goals. And so again, if we are able to act on this sooner than later, if we bring in another person who is not versed in experience on this, it's going to prolong the decision even further. Not only is it going to help the city save money, it's going to incentivize residents as well to move to solar, as well as our landlords. I rent currently now, and our landlord won't even come and fix the windows. And so if he just had just a little bit of an incentive to make his properties green, I think that will also bring the cities more savings. So I hope that you guys move forward with your decision and make a decision on working with Synergistic soon. I don't think there is a second place person that's going to bring you guys the resources that you need to move forward with the city. I would look at Synergistic again. I would maybe review the other vendors as well, but I just don't agree that they're going to be bringing you guys the behavioral development that we need to train the staff to manage the properties, as well as just educating the community on what else we could do to increase or decrease our carbon footprint.
Thank you. Councilmember Beckman,
Yeah, oops.
come on up.
I'll be real quick. My name's Mike Petridis. I come in here, I just listen, I don't like to talk. But you make very bad decisions when you go really fast. So just go slow. Don't worry about going fast on this. You're all good. Slow steps. Thank you. That's it.
Ms. Call.
A comment was received by Marita Lynch. Good evening. I would like to thank the council for my recent reappointment to the Environmental Advisory Board. I have enjoyed serving the last few years, and I look forward to serving 4 more years. Climate change and its impact is the biggest existential challenge of our time, and we have a moral responsibility to our children and grandchildren to put every effort into this threat. I am writing tonight in support of the synergistic proposal. I've watched their Monday presentation, and I think their approach of changing behavior and culture to support sustainability is, to quote Mr. Hamilton, the direction we need to go in. I would like to address the concerns raised by Mayor Hibbert and Mark Bunker. Mayor, I heard you quote your father at a previous council meeting, and what I remember is that he said, "Price fades, quality stays." I was very impressed by that because it is so true and so forward-looking. The approach of synergistic will not only improve the current state, but it will have a lasting impact into the future as the culture of sustainability is ingrained into people and systems. The dollars that the city will save and use to pay synergistic will have a long-term benefit. That, to me, is money very well spent. Mark Bunker, during the meeting you pulled up a quick Google search, which I did as well. Then I asked Sheridan for information on how they vetted synergistic. She sent me many documents showing the research, interviews, and scoring that the staff did of synergistic and their competitors. All of these made clear that the city staff had done their due diligence and more in evaluating options for the city, and have used the data and fact-based methodology to decide on synergistic. In a previous life, I did process improvement in healthcare systems across the United States. There is an old maxim regarding the difficulty of effecting change. Culture eats strategy for lunch. However, based on the testimonials from synergistic customers, they have been able to implement and, more impressively, maintain change that benefits all of us. I will not be able to attend the meeting Thursday night. She's asking me to read it, I'm sorry. I sincerely hope that the contact with Synergistic will be approved Thursday night.
Councilmember Beckman.
To the comment about slow steps, going slow, this has been looked at since early spring. So when Mr. Horn was here, staff had begun to look at this. So this is not just, a 2-week or 1 month process of looking at these firms. It's been studied, and there's been work done behind the scenes, months and months, all throughout the summer. And I would kind of echo Ms. Douglas's comments about, these are professionals who have the right software, the right monitoring systems. They have expertise in looking at our energy consumption and reducing it. And I would just really caution, if there are other ways to save money in-house, we don't have it, and we're not going to get it quickly, and every day we delay, we're losing money. So I want to make it clear, for me, this is not something city staff has the expertise to do, has the bandwidth to do, and we don't have time to hire people and train people to do it specifically for our city. This needs to be an outside source that knows exactly what they're doing, that can come in, hit the road running, start saving money right away. They have every incentive to do it. They get half of the profits for 5 years only. That's it. And then we reap all of the benefits, and with an upfront cost of $17,000. So I just want to say I am not going to be in favor of having it in-house, and I think this firm is a really good one. But
Councilmember Bunker.
I appreciate your passion on this, and I share that. But I don't think we're saying, let's put this off for another year or two. We're saying January, maybe February. And I think we're all in favor of the savings. But I think just doing a little more research, I think or negotiations, would perhaps be worth the effort. When we had our presentation, I felt very much like it was Professor Harold Hill coming to pitch a River City Boys Band. It was a very impressive performance. And a lot of towns were screwed by Professor Harold Hill, but in the end, he fell in love with that librarian, and everything worked out great. So let's just give it a little extra time here for a month or two, and we'll make those savings, okay?
Mr. Margolis.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a procedural comment, just briefly. If the decision of council is to postpone or to reset the item, the motion that would be appropriate here would be either a motion to reset for the January 20th, 2022 meeting, or a motion to reset for the February 3rd, 2022 meeting, or a motion to postpone indefinitely. It would not be a motion to lay on the table, because that would actually take it back up during the exact same meeting. So I just wanted to advise council.
Well, I would expect we'd do a date uncertain until staff decides whether it's January or the first meeting of February. But I think that's the expectation, that we're going to get back to it. And I did not hear anyone say tonight to have this done in-house. So I don't know where you got that inclination, but I didn't hear that from any of the four of us. So
I think you had said there are other ways to save money. I didn't know what the other ways meant besides hiring a third.
Never assume.
No, I won't.
Do I have a motion to continue to a date uncertain?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
3-1 with Councilmember Beckman in opposition. 10.2.
Again, Mayor, staff is recommending postponement. Approve a locally funded agreement between the state of Florida, Department of Transportation, and the city of Clearwater to fund $250,000 of design fees for the State Road 60 pedestrian overpass from the Courtney Campbell Trail to Bayshore Trail, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute the same. The reason, the reason for the postponement that we're asking for the postponement, in conversations I've had with members of the council, it does appear that there are a lot of outstanding questions to be answered. And so I think we need to go back. This was something that that I approved to put on the agenda, but did not realize that there were these outstanding questions.
Well, I talked to the secretary today. This goes back to a request by the city in 2015. And there's a lot more to this, and I'd like to have a longer discussion. They really followed this process because the city of Clearwater asked for it, rather than having a surface crossing. And then the additional $1 million came from us not liking the aesthetic. I'd just like to go into this in greater detail with all the right people. I'd also like to have a full council. Councilmember Albritton.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk to Whit Blanton with Fort Pinellas on this, because I did remember seeing this. This was something, like the mayor said, went back a while back, and you know, the money was actually postponed, and then it got back on the transportation, the tip plan. But, you know, when I was presented with this on Monday, it was the first time I saw what that new configuration looked like. I hadn't seen it before, and originally there was no money that was going to be, you know, Clearwater had to put up on this. This was something by the FDOT and federal money. So I think we do have some more information to talk about, and I think postponing this is a good idea.
Do I have a motion to continue to a date uncertain?
Motion to continue to a date uncertain, item 10.2.
Second.
Citizens to be heard on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am Bill Johnson, and one of my things I do is I'm chair of the Courtney Campbell Causeway Scenic Highway Corridor Advisory Committee. And I don't know all the details that you've been talking about here. I do know that when the trail was designed, it was not it was designed with the assumption that people would cross 60 at the traffic light. After that got started, there was feedback that that was going to slow the traffic flowing through the intersection because it takes longer for people to cross than a bicycle or something like that. So that was a little bit of the background. As far as additional things to consider, with the building there and the Chamber of Commerce moving into that building to have an information center and a trailhead, you want to make sure that you have access from that trailhead to the overpass, and so that may end up with some of the things that you were really asking to consider. It's going to be a wonderful facility. It's going to be a wonderful amenity for the Clearwater residents, as well as the tourists that come here, and it is being paid mostly for by the DOT, as it should be. Well, I think it's from funding money from the Cross Florida Trail Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else to speak to this item? Do I have a motion to continue to a date uncertain?
We did.
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Anything else, Mr. Jennings?
No, sir.
Mr. Margolis?
No, sir.
Closing comments, Councilmember Albritton?
I'll keep it quick. Everybody have a safe and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you in January.
Councilmember Beckman?
I just want to say a special thank you to Amplify Clearwater, the district, our CRA, and other groups that are working so hard to make downtown a real festive place this holiday season. There's lots of open markets, lots of variety of activities, especially for family. There are pet parades, and Santa went out throughout the community, and there's a nighttime market tonight. So I think things are there's momentum and positive energy down there, so that's great. I love the creativity, and it does take time to build awareness and momentum. And just wanted to wish you all the best this holiday season. Wanted to say thank you to all our city staff, our officers and firefighters, first responders, our librarians and rec center employees, and our parks and rec staff who are out there working 7 days a week. And I hope you all have an enjoyable holiday.
Councilmember Bunker.
Well, we haven't had a chance to speak about this in public since Mr. Jennings mentioned on Monday at the work session that he wants to have the city enter into a partnership with Scientology and David Miscavige. You know, I'm skeptical of this, and I think there are a lot of people who are. And I think we really need to be asking the people of Clearwater before we make some arrangement with Scientology to get a sense. The mayor has been talking about doing a survey. I think this would be a good thing to survey, to see if this would be beneficial or the kiss of death to have David Miscavige overseeing the downtown. I will say, if you can convince David Miscavige to stand at that podium and do a pitch, I will go and pay for my bridge in advance. I will promise to go clear by L. Ron Hubbard's birthday on March 13th. And by December 5th, I will reach the state of clear, rather OT8, go all the way up to the top of the bridge. That would be for the anniversary of Lisa McPherson's death. And other than that, hey, everybody have a wonderful Christmas and holiday season.
Well, many thanks to our North Greenwood, Lake Bellevue, and Morningside communities. They had great holiday parties last Friday that I got to attend all. And I want to thank our Parks and Rec Department, who really did a marvelous job at all the recreation centers. Our police department that were there, not only keeping people safe, but interacting with all the kids and everybody, and the fire department as well. 12 Days of Christmas is going on. Look them up on our website. Some great things. I want to give a special thanks to the council members. I think we've accomplished a lot this year, and there's a lot more to come next year. I want to thank our staff, who I think are the best in the business, very dedicated, and I know it's been a tumultuous year, but they've done a great job, and I'm also very pleased to have Mr. Jennings, Mr. Margolis are off to a very strong start. I did attend Mr. Horan's interment last Thursday at Arlington National Cemetery, and it was a beautiful ceremony, and it honored him well. And we were very fortunate to have him, and I am glad that he is now at rest there in Arlington at a place that he very much deserves. So with that, have a wonderful holiday. Be safe. God bless.